Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's session. I'm so excited to have our guest here today. Her name is Ashlyn, and she is a marketing strategist at HenHouse Brewing, which is one of my favorite breweries. And I know most of you listening are likely not of age to drink just yet, but I know that you're very interested in learning more about what it takes to become a marketing strategist or within the field itself. If you haven't been here before, my name is Tiffany, and I am a college and career consultant. I advise students on college application processes and am a certified career service provider, helping students realize what career ambitions they have and diving into how to prepare for it as well. So without further ado, let me go ahead and welcome our guest, Ashlyn.
Hi.
Hey, Ashlyn, thank you so much for joining us today.
Of course. Yeah, I'm so happy to be here. I love your platform, really awesome. And I love the work that you're doing, for young minds.
Oh, you're the best. So, just before we dive into Ashlyn's official intro, a fun fact here is we're both huge Drake fans. We just discovered this while I saw Ashlyn's background and thing.
Love Drake. Oh my goodness. So good.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so funny. And for some of you that don't know, Drake is a famous rapper, a Canadian rapper. So
Yep.
anyway,
Yep.
we'll go ahead and get into what you all came here to learn more
Yeah.
about. So Ashlyn, if you could introduce yourself, tell us more about what you do within the field and what school you went to.
So I am the marketing strategist at HenHouse Brewing Company. We have 3 different locations right now, and primarily what I focus on is social media and just really building community engagement and just connecting with others online, as that's like our biggest thing right now is just how we connect with each other online. So I mainly help with that and just different events and just overall overarching branding. So just like who we are, like how others perceive us, how we want to be perceived, the future, looking in, looking out to see the competition and just managing the different trends out there. I know a lot of you watching are probably familiar with like TikTok. So that's our next big thing. So if you have any tips on how we can be successful in that outlet and market to you all, let me know. But in the school I went to University of Nevada, Reno, and that's in Reno, Nevada. And I majored in marketing and minored in photography.
Why did you decide on that university?
A lot of the college recruits for UNR came down to Las Vegas, which is where I'm from. And it was just kind of a cool thing just to see like the energy of the different counselors and the different, recruiters and just them talking so highly of UNR and just how on top of it being like a really interesting like college town, it's also very filled with nature and just being outdoors, which I didn't really get a lot of being in Las Vegas. It's a desert out there. So UNR was just more financially more convenient. And I also got a Millennium Scholarship, which it's kind of like a governor scholarship that was awarded to high school students with like a GPA of like a certain average and getting definitely if you can get, scholarships, that's something that definitely influenced my decision as well.
Cost and
Oh my
affordability
goodness.
is huge when it comes to higher education. So please
Mhm.
don't forget about that when you're doing your college search. And congratulations on getting a scholarship for college too. It's not easy, and it just shows how hard you worked in high school as well. The first question that we do have for you beyond why you chose UNR is, when did you know you wanted to get into marketing?
I grew up, in a single household for primarily of my life, and my parents, working multiple jobs and such. So, in their heads, they're like, okay, you need to go into the medical field. That's job security, safety. Your future will be locked in. So, for a long period of time, that's what I thought. I'm like, oh, okay, like I'm gonna be a nurse or a doctor. When I went to high school, like I transferred to it's a magnet school, but some call it like a charter school where it focuses on a certain trade that you may want to have. And so I entered the nursing program. And from there, I'm like, oh, okay, I'll be a nurse, and it wasn't until I think my senior year in high school. And I'm like, you know what? I don't really want to go into the medical field. That's my parents. So, like that's their dream. So I just started doing more of my research and just looking into different internship programs. And so I started to do like some shadowing type jobs and just, just to really get into that and see, and really got into different internships and shadowing my freshman year when I was in college. So it wasn't until I think it was like my first event that I got to help throw at an internship that I worked at, where I'm like, okay, I want marketing. Pretty much every brand, everything that you're interested in, like has like a marketing piece, from like the clothes that you like to shop at, or even go to a simple grocery store. Like Trader Joe's has like a really great like marketing plan that they have. I listen to their podcast.
Wow.
And it's just very interesting just to see like just your daily activities, and like even this too, like we're on YouTube.
Yeah.
So they have a great way to influence different streamers. And so, yeah, so that was like a long-winded answer of just me doing my own research outside of what people tell me that I should do, because at the end of the day, it's like you have to go for what you want, and you might disappoint people along the way. I mean, now my parents look at me and they're like, oh, we're so glad that you didn't listen to us. It looks like you're having fun, even though we don't really understand everything that you're doing right now, but we know that you're you're safe. So yeah.
Ashlyn, I'm so happy for you that you really followed your intuition, did your research. Like, not only did you do informational interviewing, right? That's what we're doing now. You're asking other people questions in the field, step one. Two, you gave it a try. You found opportunities. You did an internship. You shadowed. Like, you really are just doing everything that's in the book on how to figure out what career path makes the most sense for you. And you also looked at the job outlook, the brightness of it for the future, and how many opportunities are out there. So huge congratulations.
It's just different things too. And definitely at HenHouse, like I have amazing coworkers, like they're always super stoked in their own way, and just really creating that welcoming environment, for everyone. And I really enjoy the educational piece. I think that's pretty awesome with any company, is just really educating people on your product and not, pushing so hard on selling. Wherever you are applying to, it's best to really just like get in tune with the people who work there, and just like to get a vibe from them of like, oh, okay, like, do you like working here? Like, it seems like a fun place, but like, can you tell me more about it? So that definitely helped inform my decision. And I love the things I'm hearing, and it's great. I enjoy working at HenHouse, and I enjoy learning and growing and meeting different people like Tiffany. So it's one fun part I like to think about for my job, is just sitting, in one of our tasting rooms and just hearing the different conversations of just like, oh, like, what are people interested in? Like, what beer do they like? And just like different things, which is very interesting. That's like market research, or my own little soul research is just like, who's coming in? Like, do they have kids with them? Do they have dogs? Are they alone? Did they come with a partner? Just so that can help influence my decisions when creating content. So
really like that you mentioned is you're not selling, you're educating folks about your product.
Yes, like I do have bills to pay, and everyone, we need to keep the lights on. So like sales is a major part of it. So I think the educational piece comes from that. Like, you'll get super excited, super stoked on it, and then that will naturally gravitate the right people, to your product. So
all right. So another question that we have for you here is, what preparation did you do to enter in the field? Obviously, you got an education, and maybe you can share a little bit more about what classes you took and that really stood out to you.
Yeah. So I would say for me, getting real world experience, there were a few courses that I took at UNR that I felt were just like, wow, this is awesome. One course I took that really stood out to me was just the introduction to buyer behavior. And that class mainly focused on the psychology behind things. And that's, actually when I first learned that I'm like, oh, marketing, like psychology ties so closely together, like understanding the perception of why someone will buy like a certain product over another. One great example given in class was different products like organic. You automatically see organic, oh, organic, toast or whatever the case may be, and you will buy it compared to something else because you assume that it's healthy. And just learning that some organic foods actually have a lot of salt in them. So just be on the lookout for that. So it's just kind of interesting seeing perception. I also took a course that focused on, which I really enjoyed, is just like starting your own business. and just running that. The entire class was pretty much like a group project. Like that was just like what made up the meat of the course, and essentially just like running your own business from beginning to the end. So thinking about the different, products that you have, and just, going through like changing prices, changing your name, changing like little things, based on like your performance, and just really building your portfolio. So we kind of were just thrown all into that, and not really, understanding too much behind the business world. But it was just kind of nice to have our professor be a mentor to us. And it's just like, hey, like, sometimes you might not know, everything that you're doing, but, as long as you're testing and you're trying, like that's like a big aspect of it. And how I got into where I am now, I would say a lot through networking. I started to apply to jobs like as soon as I graduated from college. And I'm like, oh, like where am I gonna go? Like what am I gonna do? And I mainly in the Bay Area, like that's where I got like the most traction. So I started interviewing out here and just connecting with people on LinkedIn. That's a really good source too. If you don't have a LinkedIn, you definitely should make one.
Uh-huh.
It's never too early. But yeah, just going through that, and, moving to like a small town where I live right now, and just joining even different outside of my field, like joining different organizations like nonprofits where it's just like-minded individuals who are in different field than I am in, but like just really connecting with the community. So you're never told to volunteer, especially when it comes to youth and just your community. And I think that really helped me a lot, is just like networking and meeting different people. And to be completely honest, like I had no idea I would end up in the craft beverage industry. I mainly thought, I'm like, oh, I'll probably be in tech, like, like which I was previously. I worked at an advertising agency, but you never know where you can end up. And that's something what I really enjoy about being in marketing. It's like, oh, I can pretty much work in any industry, as long as you, connect with people and just like go for like what you believe in. I think just staying true to your values too.
I got into the career service providing field and college consulting through meeting a mentor on LinkedIn.
Oh,
And
cool.
I just like had an idea one day, like, oh, I would love to learn more about this. Like, did what Ashlyn did, asked for an informational interview, and advice that I would do in order to get folks to respond back to you, because they likely won't know you
Yeah.
before, is to serve before you ask.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did was reach out to my now mentor and say, hey, I went through your website and I noticed there are some things that really stood out to me, which are great, and also areas that you can probably improve on. Would you want to do a chat about it? And then that's how I landed the call with him. And now we're still working together on side
That's
projects and
awesome.
all that sorts. But you got to really be creative on how you reach out, be genuine as well. And I love that, Ashlyn, you mentioned you applied to opportunities outside of your town, your state. There's a lot of students that are likely nervous about doing that when they get to college, or even if you're in high school right now and you're thinking about what should I do this summer, don't be shy. You never know what
Yeah.
opportunities are out there. Just give it a go.
Yeah, I definitely would say yes, it is scary, to move out of state. Like one, especially if you're moving somewhere where you don't really know a ton of people. But to be completely honest, you will meet people just by the energy you put out there. Like my first job coming to the Bay Area, like they helped me move out here. So there are some companies who are willing to like, help you, with moving costs and such like that, or give you like a sign-on type bonus, if you're moving out of state, which is really nice. So I would say don't let that discourage you. I just want to give that as full disclosure because, there are some people, who have, the familiar ties that will like help them, like with moving and like cost, because it can be costly depending on where you want to go. But I would say like, don't let that discourage you. If you really want to go for an opportunity, like there are so many different programs and different ways where you can, even with like negotiating, for your role, that you can, definitely afford to do so.
And some misconceptions are, wow, for instance, both Ashlyn and I are in California. You might be coming from another state where your income, you are worried about not making the same and having that lifestyle that you've been maintaining in a different state. There's a lot of companies that pay per location. So it's going to be competitive for that area and be able to sustain your lifestyle and be able to afford your rent and all that sort. So don't let that deter you, as Ashlyn's mentioned. So I'm glad that you had assistance to relocate to, Ashlyn. That's great.
Yeah. Fresh out of college, I'm like,
Yeah.
how can I afford this? Like, thank you for taking the chance on me, and that's all it is too, is someone taking, a chance on you.
And it shows them that they value your work and the potential that you're going to be contributing to that company. So props to you for crushing the interview. Another question that I have for you is, what do you enjoy within this field, this role, and anything that's challenging that you didn't anticipate?
Yeah, I enjoy connecting with people. So I enjoy getting to meet different people, whether that be online or in person. I really enjoy building connection. I also really just enjoy inspiring people, like inspiring someone, to really get involved in whatever the field that I may be in at the time, So for right now, like I'm in craft beer. So it's awesome when I can connect with someone that like probably never, got into craft beer or doesn't really understand, the field and just like the scene, and just sort of converting them into enjoying like what I enjoy, getting them super excited about it and just really connecting with people. I would say for the challenges that I face is just, you will have some people that you work with, that don't see your vision, just how you do it. I appreciate about it. It's just like, we're all different, like we all bring something to the table. Like, I really think diversity is like so important because you get different, voices that come in, which is awesome. So I'm always welcoming it. So just going straight in, especially when you're fresh out of college, like you're like, oh yeah, like I have all these ideas and I want to do all these things, which, not to say like, don't, stick with those ideas, but it's just, awesome and kind of like humbling in a way.
Very similar to you, where I'm like, oh, I think my idea is great. Like I usually work in school. These are my own projects, right? And then there's times where we all had to work on a group project.
Oh man.
And the workforce is essentially a group project.
Yep.
Majority
Hate
of
to
the
break it to you.
Yeah. Exactly. So all those times, think back about high school, college, and there's always that one person where you're trying to really negotiate with on your perspective, as you say, right? Shedding light on other ways that we can do things. Take those opportunities to learn.
Right.
Because I used to think in high school, oh, I will never choose to work on a group project with so-and-so again. But in the workforce, you can't really choose who you work with.
Exactly. It's like, oh, this is your team.
This is you. You interview, you're in, and get some great work done. The good part is, and it sounds like there's always respect and being able to see others' perspective and give evidence why yours would make sense, or be able to meet in the middle. There's a lot of different ways to go about it, but yeah, lean into the uncomfortability, because that's how you really learn.
Exactly. Yeah, I would say that. And, it's be willing to be open to different ideas that are different than your own, because that's just how you grow. And that's how I've grown personally, is just being open to different perspectives. And I'm like, wow, I didn't think about it like that before, so it's just kind of awesome just to be open to different things, different people. And that's how you'll grow in your career and throughout life too.
All right. Last question for you. Any advice or tips for students interested in pursuing marketing?
Do your research first and be open to different, opportunities within the field. And there will be people that will tell you like, oh, like that's kind of crazy. You want to be a content creator full time. But there are a lot of content creators who are making a very successful living and living a happy, healthy life. It's a different day and age, and different things that you can do to grow, within whatever you choose to do. And I would just say you can go into any industry within marketing. I mean, I started in manufacturing, then I went to real estate, then I went to an advertising agency, tech, wine, now I'm in beer, so who knows where the future will take me. So honestly, just being open to the different opportunities, and be careful about who you talk to about what you want to do in life, because there are certain people who, they project their feelings onto you, and they're like, oh, I would never do that, or oh, that doesn't make any sense. Like, for example, my parents, they're like, what? Marketing? That's not secure, like, how are you going to pay your bills? And it's like, some people don't see, like the end result until you get the end result. They're like, oh no, like that's not going to work. So I definitely would just go with your own gut. And the worst thing that you can do is just not try. So, take that risk. I know it's scary, but honestly, it's pretty fun. It's pretty rewarding. Like, you can do so many different things, events, social media, content creation, an influencer, if you want to be one. There are different brands and companies who love working with influencers and just doing that full time. So it's just so fun. It's just so many different things that you can do, and, go for an industry that you feel passionate about. Find a good mentor that encourages you and pushes you to work towards your goals. And despite the challenges, come to the marketing world. It's a fun time, and happy to help however I can.
I feel so motivated, energized after talking to you, Ashlyn. And I love that you mentioned to be careful about letting others project their opinion on your career path, because that's what led me to some of you who've been watching this channel for a while. I studied legal studies. I was not interested in law at all. And I was going to prepare for going to law school. And I mentioned to my parents, I think I'm going to take a year off, go to the workforce, and just see how it goes. And I never looked back since. Like I just followed what I was interested in, networked, like all the key things that Ashlyn just mentioned. Just follow your gut. And as long as you are enjoying yourself, that's a huge win, and the money will follow.
Yep.
So yeah. Well, thank you so much, Ashlyn, and everyone
Yeah.
listening. It's been such a great time. Please do subscribe as well. We're going to be doing more informational chats like similar to this and with different professions as well. Touring colleges, sharing all tips and tricks for college and career. And go ahead and leave a comment if you have any questions for us as well. We'll try our best to answer them. And we hope to see you next time.